Welcome to the Tine Talk Podcast, sponsored by Rack Fuel, premium deer nutrition. Fuel your herd.
All right, Tine Talk, episode 10. Back with fellas again this week, 2 weeks in a row. After being gone for a month straight, feels good to get some consistency back into the podcast.
Doubling up.
Good to see you guys. How's it going?
Not
Good.
too bad.
Very
We're in the
good.
boring part of the year now.
Yeah.
25th of January, I just looked. And next week, which seems like normally it's the coldest week out of the year, I saw upper 40s in the forecast. I've never
40s, upper 40s next week.
Never in my life have I seen that late January, early Feb.
Yeah, that's insane.
Insane.
Feels good for the deer, though. They're going to live pretty good.
I hope
Fingers crossed.
I hope
this
it
winter.
pays off. We had one pretty warm winter. I don't know. 2012 is the year that sticks out. That early spring. It wasn't like this in January, but it was warm, and I remember that fall there was big jumps everywhere, I feel like.
I've been
3
seeing
to
a lot
4,
of deer
4 to 5. They
out
were
in fields
healthy.
driving already, it seems like.
Yeah. Where they been at? Bean fields, just anything?
Cut beans, it seems like.
Yeah. A lot of hay and alfalfa, too, I've been seeing a lot lately, too.
Yeah. Normal winter, it
especially
seems
with no
like.
snow.
Yeah.
They got it good. Hopefully it
On
means
those
huge
south-facing
jumps.
sides, I've seen quite a bit, like, no snow at all, and they're just in there just pawing at and everything.
Gives you an itch to get out there and look for sheds, but it's
Feels
like,
like-
well,
Yeah.
Feels like
Still
shit.
probably just a little, like,
it's early.
I know
There's
Mike
still a lot of good
texted
ones
us.
holding.
he was like, oh, do I come up this weekend? I was like, I mean, I only know of one deer that lost both sides. Other than that,
Yeah.
there's a little one that lost half, but I mean, I don't even know if it's worth it at this point.
Yeah. A
These,
little early yet.
you see that post
Just,
I sent you
what about-
guys?
What about Snuffy and that other? You guys had a couple other bucks. Does Dave have cameras? Have you talked to him recently about? Are they still holding?
No.
Not
Snuffy's got both sides still. We just got a picture of him not too long ago.
A couple days ago, yeah. I was just telling him with the warm temps and whatnot, you can already tell, like that cold snap we had, all those deer funneling just came back down to earth a little bit. I think, like you said, hay fields a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
Not as concentrated
yeah.
on the beans anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, with these warmer temps, though, starting to think about shooting your bow a little bit. And on the other end of the line, we got just the guy for it. We got Greg Poeschel with Lethal Archery Solutions. Greg, how's it going tonight?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Not too
All
bad.
right.
Doing great.
What have you been up to?
Oh, staying busy with work. It's actually been a little busier with the bow stuff here too for this January. Probably the busiest January I've had for that. So that's been keeping me busy at night. Good to work on some of that stuff this time of year.
That's awesome.
That's fun.
What do you do for your full-time job again?
Financial advising. So I went to school for that. Graduated from Eau Claire in 2020, and that's kind of when I started Lethal Archery Solutions too. When I graduated back in 2020, I worked at Shields for
Yep.
about 6 years, and then I just wanted to keep working on bows when I started working full time. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember seeing you back in the Shields days. Greg, hook me up with a deal. Come on.
yeah, I really would have if they didn't limit how much we could spend with our deal. That was the only unfortunate thing about being part time.
Oh, part-time as just like a different like price point?
Yeah,
OTEC? Or yeah.
yeah. I think all part time employees. I can't remember what exactly it was. I think it was $200 to $300 that you could spend a month or something like that with a discount, and then. Full-time employees, I don't believe there's a limit on how much you could spend. So,
What's the what was the discount, if you don't mind me asking? Probably.
Yeah,
Shields probably wants.
We're going to have to mute this out.
Yeah, probably.
They're gonna want to sponsor us.
That's
They're gonna get some good employees.
They're gonna sue.
Brag them up.
I'll work here.
It's
They
it's
can't
obviously
fire-
good. It keeps you
Yeah.
there.
they can't fire me anymore anyway. So no, it depended. Whatever it was, it wasn't like a certain percentage off retail. It was whatever they could buy it for at their prices plus 6%. So it was pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. I haven't thought about buying a new bow in a while, but I was looking at the latest lift, and I was sending the boys a couple pictures of it. That camo, that bottomland camo looks pretty epic. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet pattern. I wish Dart and bows had that pattern. I might have to send mine off to get dipped.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Are you like a Darton dealer by chance, or is that just
Yeah.
your bow of choice?
No, well, I've been dealing for darting for 3 years, pretty much since I started
Okay.
this thing on the side here, and I've been shooting them. Yeah, this will be my 3rd year, and I really like them. That's kind of the thing nowadays. I think if someone's making bows, they're all pretty dang good. You're just kind of picking and choosing one pro versus another brand, and they all have a little bit something different going for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the, I mean, my dad actually has a Darton, which he bought it 10 years ago, but that was the first bow he had bought since his Matthews, I want to say switchback. Probably,
Yep.
We're probably looking at 15 years, but he liked it a lot. And I know at that point, the price point was significantly lower than what Matthews was. And he didn't hunt a whole lot. So he wasn't, like anybody not looking to spend the top dollar, but yet wanted a good bow. Is that still kind of something that, you see them?
Yeah.
Them backing and touch on that.
Yeah, definitely. They were really popular back in like the 80s and 90s, and you'll see a lot of things where they came out with a lot of the kind of common technology and compounds and had a lot of patents right away. And then they stopped focusing on bow innovations and production as much kind of once they got to the early 2000s and into the like early 2010s, and they just were kind of, the previous owners were living off of the money they were getting from other companies using their patents and whatnot. And then probably I think it's been 5 or 6 years or so, they had new owners come in and kind of rebranding the company and really focusing on developing bows again every year. And the last few years, from when I first got the first one 3 years ago to today, they've made a ton of changes that I'm really excited to start shooting the one they came out with this year. So, but yeah, I think price point wise, they're $200-$300 less than like the new Matthews. I think Matthews is maybe $1,400 ish for their new one, and the Darton's MSRP for $1,200. So they're a little less, but they shoot really well. I've been really happy with them.
Nice. I
That's
think
awesome.
it's one of those things where the brand kind of sells, and I think Matthews is right up there with. I mean, that's probably the top of the line as far as
Well, especially
bows go.
Darton's just getting back into it. I guess
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were kind of
It's probably no different than
laying
your
low for a while.
Yeah.
it's no different than your clothing brand. What keeps you warm, what doesn't. There's put a name on something, and you can throw an extra couple $100 on it nowadays.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I think there's some things like I know there's like some accessories like my stabilizer bracket. It's the same exact bracket, and you put a Matthews logo on it, and they sell it for $25 more.
Yeah,
but
I get it.
then they do have, in terms of streamline of accessories, like all their bridge lock stuff now with the sights going in the riser and the stabilizers going through the riser. They kind of, and their quiver system. I mean, they pretty much have everyone else beat on that side of things. But at the same time, like you said, they kind of pay for it too. So if you want to spend that much, get all those accessories, all means go for it. But some of that stuff, it's not going to make the difference in you becoming a better shot either.
Yeah, I can believe that.
If you're bad, you're bad, Jake.
Hey, take it easy.
What about buck fever? You got anything to relieve that? At your shop?
Oh, buck fever. I don't know if I have anything really to relieve that. Are you talking about getting rid of it itself or shooting better under pressure?
A little of both.
Both,
Whatever
yeah.
puts an arrow through the lungs of a big one when he does come in.
He's a Darton dealer, not a weed dealer, dude. So,
I don't know, Greg. I've heard some things. Just kidding.
You're not talking to the right people. You must be talking to Jake.
No, a little
Yeah.
off topic, but it's like, I don't know, with the whole name brand thing, it reminds me of a deer mineral too. Back when we used to be able to feed mineral, we used my grandpa's, the same exact mineral he uses for his cattle, and it was so much cheaper than what you get at the store or Shields or anywhere, and has 90% of the same ingredients, but the only difference is you throw a rack on the front of the cover or put a sticker on it and upcharge it $25.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So we had awesome luck with, I don't even remember the brand. It was something we got from Cenex. They hammered it. So
But Greg, you said you did start Lethal right out of high school. Was it just kind of bits and pieces, and then now you're kind of jumping up a little bit? I mean, what kind of services do you offer for everyone?
Yeah. I maybe misspoke. I started it straight out of college, so that it was, what was it, 4 years? It's going on its 4th year. So, but yeah, right away, it was smaller and just kind of, I didn't really know how big it was going to get. At first, it was kind of a goal. I wanted to get a bow press and arrow jig and arrow saw and everything, so I could just work on my own stuff at my house, since I didn't want to work at Shields anymore, be tied down to their schedule during hunting season. If that was the case, I was worried.
Oh no!
Oh man,
He's about to spill some beans for us. Too.
Call him back, dial him up.
Right away.
What happened? Just a service deal?
Yeah, lost service. He's out in the
Verizon.
boons. Out in the boons over by that church over there.
Oh, yeah.
Where does he live? By what church? I have no idea
Right.
where
He
he's
lives by
South of
Anthony's
Anthony.
school.
Secret.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Can't.
That is some tough.
Tell everybody.
That is some tough service in that area. I heard there's big bucks over there though.
I'll try him
Nope.
back here. Couple big bucks back here.
Dial it up.
Used to be.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There you are.
Well, I don't know what that was. Sorry about that.
No problem.
You're all
Jump
good.
back in.
Just don't let it happen again.
We're not professionals at this quite yet either, so
Mitch can edit that out.
yeah.
I'm sure he has to edit stuff from Jake all the time.
It's facts.
Pretty easy.
But-
You put a balloon in front of his face and you're all right.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I pretty much stopped at Shields there because I just wanted to be able to hunt more now that I was working full time. So I started this, and at first I just wanted to get the equipment to be able to work on my own stuff, and then I figured, well, I like working on this stuff, so might as well try and do it for other people. And I felt that I could kind of offer something more than what I was able to at Shields. It was hard. Shields, you have a huge customer base. That Eau Claire store, their archery department, it's one of the smallest archery departments out of any of the Shields stores, and it's crazy the amount of sales that they do compared to all the other Shields. It's not even close. They blow everyone else out out of the water.
Wow, that's interesting.
Dang.
I believe.
Yeah.
Wisconsin hunting.
So
Wisconsin hunting, the heritage is bigger nowhere else.
And they all come the week before the season starts and trying to get their new bows set up.
yeah, that's the thing of that. And guys will bring their bow out a week before the season, and I need a new string, bring it in and expect to get it put on that same day. Well, no, you gotta. Every bow takes a different string, so you gotta order it, and by that time of year, they're backed up 3-4 weeks. So, yeah, dealing with a lot of that.
Oh, man, that's
Greg,
tough.
What do you think makes? Obviously, you can talk about employees, and Shields in Eau Claire it was built, I assume, before a lot of them. I know it was built before the one in Arizona and whatnot. But what do you think makes it the busiest store in the? Shields is a little franchise here.
Yeah.
People, area. What do you?
Jeff,
I think it's just a combination of all of that. Yeah, Jeff too. He just retired, but
yeah, legend.
it was, I don't know, I think he was there 24, 25 years, and I think just he knew a lot of people, and he did a really good job at building it up. And I think the Eau Claire store, I don't know exactly where it is in the order of when they were built and whatnot, but I think it's one of the older ones, so it's been around a while. I think the thing Shields has is that their customer service is great. So if you have any issues with anything you buy there, they take care of you. There's no questions asked about that. So they do really well there. And but yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with just there's a ton of people around here that do bow hunt, and just kind of in a good spot for it.
And now we're trying to get them sent over to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slow
Well,
but sure.
that's what I was kind of going towards when you have such a big store like that. You have so many customers coming in, and I remember some days you'd have 7-8 guys standing in line waiting to get things done. So you just feel so rushed in the pressure, and just to try and go through it, you don't want to make everyone wait for hours. So just being able to do it here at my own pace and come home and have a beer while I'm doing it and take my time and really get detailed on it is something I really like. So I don't have to rush through things and just get it done the way it should be. And I don't send anything out of here that I wouldn't want to shoot myself.
Yep.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I trust it, Greg. You even gave me a booner guarantee a couple years ago too, and that was awesome.
I did. Unfortunately, it was on a buck I had on camera too, but it did work out.
I still can't believe
What you
that
got to do to
video
get one
that
of
you
those?
sent.
You sell those at your shop? A booner guarantee.
What's the?
A booner
Yeah,
guarantees, I think a lot of people would be all over that.
Yeah, I know. I just had another guy text me today about that. Actually, ironically, he had a 170 on camera this year that made it through the season, and he shipping me his bow, and he has I got new strings for him, and 2 dozen arrows I'm doing, and he said that's going to guarantee me that buck next year, right? And I was like, well, it worked one time with Mitch, but I can't keep making those guarantees because one of these times I'm going to fall short.
You better put that just right on your slogan
Booner
and your logo.
guarantee.
Yeah.
Might as well quit at 1,000%, right?
Yeah.
All
right. I'll have Mitch come over here and just touch their bow quick, and then we'll be good.
That way you can blame him if it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'll take the blame. I like those fletchings that you put on for me this year, though. Those are sweet.
What fletchings
with that
With the wrap.
the white wraps and then
white wrap, yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Yes.
those white wraps. Look, I really like them for hunting, just for blood identification. You can really tell kind of what shade of red it is and whatnot. And I think they just kind of look pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going for too. Hopefully you get a pass through, and then you can kind of see what kind of blood you're dealing with after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your one more thing, Greg? What's your biggest time or your busiest time of the year? August, I'm gonna guess, but I mean, depends on who you're dealing with.
I already said a week before the season.
A week at Shields, it's a week before the season. Going nuts.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as far as you and your own shop, are people reaching out to you? I mean, 365? Are you seeing? Just curious on that.
Yeah. Most definitely, it's busiest. It kind of ramps up pretty good in June, and then June, July, August, I'll come home from work and I'll be busy 3-4 hours a night for 3-4 nights out of the week. But that's kind of what I like too. I can kind of work on it on my own time, and if it is during the season, someone needs something done, then I can just get it done after dark. Still go hunting, but then I can do it after dark. But outside of the season, now is actually a really good time for people to get their strings done, because there's just a settle time where you want to make sure everything's set right and get shots through the bow, because you'll have to adjust your sight most likely after you put new strings on. So now I get some of that going through, and then before guys get into their winter leagues, December, January, do some arrows and kind of bow tune-ups, getting ready for that. So definitely busiest June, July, August. Then it works really well. I get a pretty big drop off during hunting season when everyone's actually just out hunting, which is good. So then I can get out in the woods too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
You ever get those emergency calls? Dude, my bow just blew up. I got a giant on camera. I need to be out tomorrow.
Need it now.
Yeah. I had 2 or 3 of those this year. 2 I really distinctly remember. One night a guy was lowering his bow out of the tree with his rope, and it was dark, and it got caught in some branches, and he got down to the bottom and he was yanking on the rope to pull it down, and he pulled the string off the cam, and he was here. Yeah, he must have been, but he was here hunting with a friend. He was from North Dakota, and I knew his friend pretty well, or know his friend pretty well, and he called me up that night. I think it was like 6:30 or so, and they stopped out here. We got everything put back on, and he was hunting the next morning. And then the other guy, it was actually the same thing except reverse. He was pulling his bow up from the bottom when he was going to hunt, and got caught in branches, and he tried to force it up, and he pulled his string off too, trying to do that. So then he came out here the next morning, I think at 5 a.m., and I got up and put his string back on, and he went and got in the woods before daylight.
Greg, I thought you were talking about me for a second. Remember, I brought my bow out there after doing the same thing when I was pulling it up, and my release got kind of, or not my release, my my drop boy got kind of messed up.
Oh, yeah, that's
I got
right.
caught in the vine too, yeah.
Jake, I was trying to let you off the hook there, but you did it to yourself.
I really thought you were talking about me right away. I was like, geez. I did the same thing, pulling it up in the dark, couldn't see where it was, and it got tangled in a big vine. And now I know I shouldn't pull on it like that, just to try to force it through branches and stuff.
I forgot that happened, Jake, actually.
Yeah.
That's always a pain, though, when you got your bow rope like that and there's always branches around. One time when I was lowering my bow, it hit a branch, and then I tried to mess with it, and I had enough slack where it just came off and fell to the ground and broke my sight.
Way back in the day when on my switchback, I was lowering it, and the string just broke. Just fell all the way to the ground, my bow. Yeah.
Do you remember I was hunting with you back here behind the cabin, and my bow fell out of the tree? And not to mention, I was a camera. We were already probably 16, 18 feet up, and I was the camera guy staying. So I was add 2-3 feet.
Yep.
And I think I had it with for I don't know, just
in that cabin, in the food
emergency.
plot right over there.
Yeah, it was. No, maybe we were on the ridge. I want to say that pond stand that is now dried up, or maybe you fixed it. But yeah, my bow fell out of the tree stand. I'm like, no freaking way. And I had just bumped it off the rest. Craziest thing, I came back here and shot it after falling 18 feet dead on. That was a switchback XT. But
Greg, speaking of or getting away from your work a little bit and actual hunting, how did your North Dakota trip go this year?
Yeah, that was a fun trip. It's a lot different hunting whitetail out there than it is here. I was out there, I think it was November 4th to the 11th. And the rut's a little bit later out there than it is here, but I was still seeing some rutting activity. It was kind of bad timing with the weather. It was like for the first few days, it was low 50s, mid 50s. And then there was a couple days midweek where got a cold front that came in. It was low 30s, but put some cameras out, and right away that first night had probably an upper 130s buck coming in. So we set up a blind there. There's a very limited amount of trees. I was in way west North Dakota, about, 45 minutes, an hour away from Montana. So pretty far over there. The guy I was with had a mule deer tag. So he was hunting muleys. He shot a pretty nice muley, actually. I think it scored 168, a little over 168. So that was cool. I was with him when he went on that stalk. But yeah, whitetails, they're very limited on that western side. We had this, I think the rancher had over, I don't know, it was over 10,000 acres. And we had cameras probably 3-4 miles apart on each end of the ranch. And I saw a really mature buck one night. He was just a straight 8, but then tons of mass. And then he had a really big split brow off the one side. I mean, those brows, they were probably, 7-8 inches, and that split was just as big. So he was really good deer, old deer, and I had him come by at 60 yards the second night I was sitting and tried grunting him in, but when it was pretty open there, so that didn't work too well, and I didn't have any deer in front of me at the time, so he didn't want to come over there. But he came by at 60 yards, and trying to shoot out of a ground blind that far wasn't going to work. So tried to set up for him again, but then the next morning we were driving, actually scouting or looking for mule deer for the guy I was with, and we saw that buck locked down in the creek bottom with a doe, and had a blind, probably a quarter mile away from where we saw him, and had a camera there, but we hadn't had that buck on camera at that spot yet. So I sat the same blind that night where I saw him the day before, and I should have went with my gut instinct, and my gut instinct told me to sit the blind that he was closest to when we saw him that morning. But I went and sat where I saw him the night before, and sure enough, he daylighted right 20 yards in front of that blind in the last 10 minutes of daylight. So missed out on him, but yeah, we were getting the same 3 or 4 bucks 3 to 4 miles apart almost every night. They were just running like crazy that creek bottom, trying to find does. So it was really hard just to try and get on them, and the warm temps didn't help for daylight movement.
Wow.
So hard too.
It's quite the run.
Yeah.
Out
that's
there
insane.
in the open country. I'm sure it's plenty open. You said there wasn't much for good big trees.
No, there's all the trees are pretty much just small cedars and whatnot. And it's kind of, if you ever seen the Badlands out there,
Yep.
it's
Absolutely.
pretty similar to that. And then there's a creek bottom with some trees. And then I think my blind at the one spot was set up 100 yards from an oil rig. So you hear that thing running constantly, but they don't care. They're used to that.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
What brought you out to Western North Dakota? Did you get
The
mutual friend?
yeah. Yeah, I knew the guy that I went with from Archery League. So we just got to talking at actually out at Dan Bonesteel's barn. He had a shoot, and we got to talking and about out of state stuff. And I didn't have anything specifically planned for this year. And he said the couple guys he usually goes with weren't able to make it, so he asked if I wanted to go. So we went out there, and yeah, it's pretty much an every other year thing for mule deer. So you have to apply and then draw, and usually only get a tag every other year. So I couldn't get a mule deer tag, but you can get whitetail for archery over the counter. So I went out there just to see how it was, and we stayed on the ranchers. They have a house out there, and the basement of their house has a full kitchen and a really big living room, and then 3 or 4 bedrooms down there. So we got to stay there, and it was a really nice place, and they're good people. So it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Sounds like a pretty fun trip.
Yeah.
Got to see a couple big bucks and
A lot different
dead
than
muley
back
too.
here.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I started to realize that I've done a few out of state things now. I've done elk a couple times and hunting antelope, and then this North Dakota hunt, went turkey hunting in Nebraska. And just to get out of Wisconsin every now and then, it's fun to see some different terrain and just experience something a little different.
Oh, yeah.
Thought the same thing with Iowa too. We were talking about Iowa, me and you texting the one time, and it's just like what you just said, just cool to see different terrain, different how the deer act and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You went where last year, turkey hunting?
That was actually 2019, I believe. I went out to Nebraska. But yeah, so out in Nebraska, that was a fun trip. We were out there archery first week. I think it starts March 25th, and that it snowed probably a foot, I think, the week before we got out there, and it was starting to melt. But all the birds were flocked up in ranchers' fields and whatnot, so we couldn't find any on public. So we saw like a flock of, I don't know, 60 to 70 just milling around in some old machinery in the field by a house one morning. So we stopped and asked, and we got permission. So we set up there at noon that day, just walked with the blind and it was only probably 60 yards off the road too. And we put the blind up in between a couple pieces of equipment. And I was like, we're not even going to make single call. They're used to being here. So we're just going to sit here and wait. And an hour and a half, 2 hours later, here the whole flock starts walking single file 15 yards in front of the blind, and my buddy and I both shot one.
Jeez.
Really?
That's
Single
awesome.
file, 70 birds.
Yeah.
Going at you.
it was crazy.
You hunting with shotgun normally when you're turkey hunting, or do you use your bow too?
I've shot most of them with a shotgun. I think I've shot 3 or 4 now with my bow. That's my goal this year. I'm not even going to take my shotgun. I'm just going to go with my bow and until I can kill one. And I'm going to build some arrows this year. So I don't know if you've ever heard of flu vanes at all, but they're really tall and they limit how far your arrow can go. But I'm going to throw one of those big guillotine broadheads on the front and try and get one in close and take a head off.
I've always wanted to try that. I never have taken my bow, but I've always wanted to try that. I was going to ask if you're going to be body shooting or head shooting.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
You say you want to do, like for me, I say I want to do the same thing. And sometimes you take your gun and, they come in 10 yards and they sit there for you. But 9 times out of 10, it's like you don't know what they're doing.
Their head is always moving.
They're moving and and it's tough, especially with the camera guy. We like to get most of it on camera, if not every turkey kill we've got in the last few years. But that's 2 guys, and then you're in a blind. It just
Dustin, that one that you were with that I shot a couple years ago when it was standing on the bedded hen decoy.
Yeah, that would
have
been
been a good one for a bow shoot because he was standing still. But it's so tough. They're never not moving.
Yeah,
and you got to have your windows. Even when it looks easy, you got to remember how much further you got to have your windows open, shooting a bow instead of just sticking the shotgun barrel out the window. You get away with a lot inside the blind, which the bow, gosh, you need to give yourself 8 inches at minimum. And then, not to mention, if you're not in a tall blind, you got to give yourself more room in the window, considering your bow
hitting the top and
cam
everything.
hitting the top, yeah.
First turkey that I ever shot was with my bow, and me and Colton Berg were sitting in the same little teepee ground blind made for one person. Actually getting in that morning too.
Looked like something Bear Grylls would have thrown up and top themselves.
I know. We were setting up. He brought his bow that morning too, just in case we got dumb luck and doubled up. And we were setting up that blind, and he freaking stepped right on his bow sight. We heard a crunch, and we both looked at each other. We're like, "No way, dude! Guess I'm shooting today." Yeah, that's awesome. I'm kind of looking forward to turkey
You could
season.
always snab your bow and take a shot.
Yeah, like you did.
Worked one time.
Yeah.
Don't overlook shed hunt. Though.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not. Don't worry about that. That's the next. That's honestly. I hope
Right
I can
around the
find my
corner.
first one here in maybe a week or two.
Greg, you get out walking quite a bit?
Yeah, I try. I always hit my grandpa's 80 pretty good. Usually find a few on his, and then sometimes go to my uncle's too and find some. I've been meaning to. I've been invited a couple times to go down with some guys down to Iowa. I just haven't done it, but that always seems like a blast. I think you guys do that too, and I know that it's a little different walking public down there compared to trying to walk public around here. You can actually find some stuff.
It's been a grind.
Yeah, it has been a grind.
It's
Yeah.
not always easy, but it's fun. That's for sure. Even if
I
you're
think
not
it's just
finding
the
much.
weekend away bullshitting, and
Yeah.
I mean it's nothing crazy. You're just walking around looking for sheds, but yeah, I mean we've had our struggles, but
One
Hanging
thing
a
I
couple
like down
decent
there
years,
is
but
Hanging
Yeah.
with the boys, except for when Dustin's puking at 4 a.m.
Where's the dogs?
Oh my God.
guy's a liability.
Liability.
that spicy summer sausage Gunnarsson makes. I wouldn't advise having half a stick
Jeez,
of
dude.
it.
Half a
Just
log.
ratting out a
What the
local
fuck?
store.
Oh, John knows I love
Chill.
Half a log of
Oh,
summer
knows,
sausage.
Man.
it. John knows I love
I wouldn't advise you doing that anytime.
Anytime.
Half a log of anything.
Jesus.
Oh, I remember that
That was a fun time.
other year though too. We all like had pains in our hips from walking so
Day
much.
two,
The hip flexors.
Yeah, dude.
started
They-
going.
they-
Like you had to
kill
like
you.
carry your own leg around because you couldn't freaking walk.
I didn't know how Luke was doing it at the time. He was probably early 40s, and here we. Yeah, he was definitely 40 plus, and here we were complaining about my hip flexor. And I'm
flexor.
24 years old probably at the time.
I gotta give Luke props for that. He does pretty good too.
Oh yeah,
2 full days of walking
acting like he's
is,
80 years old.
is about pushing it. I mean, 3 would be
We almost walked like a
man.
marathon.
Didn't we walk? I thought we walked 30 miles, most of us, the one
20.
time.
I think
Pretty dang close.
with
hard
my
to get to
watch,
10
I think
a
it
day. 10 a
averages
day
about
is about-
25 for our weekend.
Yeah,
is
that's a
what
lot.
I remember. But yeah, the 2 days after those full 2 days of walking, it's like,
Yeah.
holy man,
Literally
need a
walking a
break.
marathon.
The hip
in 2
flexors
days.
kill you. You guys ever get like where the muscles in like your shin are dead and you like can't lift up your toes? I've had
got
that a
dead
couple.
foot?
Yeah, that's weird.
If you get
It
off the
sounds like-
couch one time in the wintertime, you have
Yeah.
one.
You guys need to go talk to Luke's wife Heidi and have her teach you some yoga. That's probably why he's out walking you down there.
No shit.
That's yeah, it probably is.
He's getting all stretched out for the weekend.
Yeah.
Jeez, chill.
I slept in his room that night. He should have showed me his stretches
Whoa.
before I walked. in.
Oh, wow.
Whoa,
He has a-
pause.
Look what you
me
did,
a joke.
Greg.
Pause.
It was a double
Jeez.
bed, guys. Come on.
It was
It's
a double bed.
bed.
Good Lord.
Here we
Cole's bed was a double bed, and you were still on his half the one
Yeah,
time.
you weren't even fucking supposed to be in
You
there.
guys have the Tums, man.
Dustin likes cuddling.
That's what Dustin does when we're in the double tree stand together. He always just puts both of his legs out as wide as it can go,
Yeah, air out
sitting
the
on your
balls.
lap, airing out the balls. Anyway,
Anyhow.
back to archery stuff though. So
He's
you said
got
you
off
had you said you have quite a bit of clients right now. Where do you mostly fixing up for them right now?
Yeah, I've been doing mainly just string swaps. I did that. I did one tonight, and then just kind of building some arrows for guys. A lot of these indoor leagues, if you're shooting at the same spot, or like the Mondovi League, you're shooting those 3D targets and shooting couple arrows at the same spot, guys might be taking vanes off or wrecking their arrows if they're shooting consistent enough. So just getting some arrows for guys and strings, that's the main thing right now. And then this is the time of year, well, end of November is when all the new bows come out for the year too. So I've helped set up a couple new ones for guys and tune them and whatnot. So that's the majority of what it is right now.
Speaking of wrecking arrows, Greg was yelling at me last year when I went over there. I had an arrow with a big gouge out of it, and I was still shooting it. It's like, dude, that thing's going to blow up. Remember that, Greg?
Like, bro, that's my rabbit arrow.
I do remember that one. Just trying to save you from having carbon all up in your wrist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might hurt a little bit.
Have you seen anything like that in your time so far working on bows?
Not while I've been working on them, but shooting out at Bone Steel's barn once, there was a guy who was shooting and his arrow exploded when he shot, and he had a ton of carbon in his arm and his hand, and he had to go to the ER that night. But it
hurt so bad.
Oh, I can't imagine the pain. Yeah.
I'd rather have like a wood splinter than a carbon splinter in my arm. Pretty sure.
Yeah. I don't want to know what that would feel like.
No, like falling off a damn cactus.
Literally.
Yeah, that's probably pretty close.
Well, you're talking about like mishaps and everything. What do you think the most common like mishap is for people like shooting their bows? Just not shooting enough, or like not having their
like maintenance wise?
Yeah, like just anything like that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I think one of the biggest misconceptions I've really come to believe is everyone says just practice, 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 and you'll become really good. But I think there's certain things that you can perfect and change in your form that if you don't make tweaks like that, you'll get to a certain point and you can be a pretty good archer, but if you kind of want to take that next step, you're going to have to make adjustments to your form to make you more consistent. But in terms of just like straight hunting, I think the biggest mistake is people don't practice with what they actually hunt with. And whether that be if you use lighted nocks, if you don't practice shooting with lighted nocks, your arrows could hit a slightly different spot and not be as consistent as what you were without lighted nocks. I think one of the biggest things hunting wise that I think people make mistakes with is thinking that their fixed blade broadheads will shoot the same as their field points. And that is and it's easy for someone who's not been around archery long or not really talked to other people about it, you wouldn't know. But even if you have a tuned bow, sometimes if your arrow spine's not right, or if you have a little inconsistency in your form, that fixed blade broadhead, even at 20 yards, can hit off 6-8 inches. And I think that's why a lot of times you hear people shoot at a deer 15, 20 yards with fixed blade heads, and they think, gosh, everything felt good on the shot. But yeah, if you don't practice with those fixed heads, you can actually be hitting in a completely different spot.
Yeah. From experience, I've had that too. And that's part, a big reason why I'm shooting expandables right now.
Yeah.
Hate it or not. They shoot just like my tips, and I practice some, don't practice enough like most guys. But if your broadheads are shooting like your field tips, that certainly can cut your practice time in half.
No, I completely agree with that. I've gone back and forth the last 4 or 5 years between some fixed blades, and now this last year I've used several expandables, and that's what I plan to continue to use going forward. Just because, like you said, using expandables can help with a lot of the errors of the shooter. Take that out. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of human error already from shooting a bow. These bows are so dang efficient nowadays that they can be more accurate than what someone can shoot it. So if you can make your equipment be as consistent as possible and then just leave it up to you to do the rest, I feel like that gives you best odds. And even if I think that people complain, the biggest thing about expandables is, there's a chance it won't open. Well, I think that if you're using a good expandable nowadays, they're designed so well that the chances of that happening are almost, I think, non-existent. And even if you hit an animal where you're aiming you're going to kill them even if that thing doesn't open up. So I've listened to some podcasts from some guys in the hunting industry this last year too, because I've really been going deep into the fixed blade versus the expandable subject. And the more I listen about it, I think one of the best arguments I've heard was those expandables with those bigger cutting diameters. Yeah, you probably aren't always going to get as much penetration as you do with those fixed blades, but when you have that larger cutting diameter, that's more arteries and more tissue and whatnot that you're cutting once you get inside that animal. And even if you don't have two holes to track blood, that broadhead is going to cut more when it goes through there. So it's going to cause more hemorrhage and bleeding. And it just leads to quicker deaths in animals, even if you don't have a pass through. Because that fixed blade, if you only have an inch cut in diameter, you could get a pass through, but you might cut a lot less than if that expandable goes through there, has twice the cutting diameter, and it cuts that much more. And then especially too, I think it's really good if you get that broadhead and arrow to stay in the deer for a little while, and as it's running, it's moving around inside there. It's just doing more cutting.
Big time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've all seen pictures of deer with guys shooting their expandables. I mean, it's ridiculous nowadays.
I think the number.
Couldn't agree more with you on that. And I changed how I shoot a little bit now that I shoot expandables too. And the whole shoulder blade argument can be made with, fixed blades too. You obviously don't want to hit a shoulder blade. I know certain guys believe, they can bust through it. I'm sure you've seen it, Greg, guys shooting heavier arrow, close range, maybe, yes, you can. But with that expandable, if you're hitting lungs and back, they're dead every single time. Of course, you want to smoke them double lung, who doesn't? But liver hit, liver, lung, even guts. The deer I killed in 16 was straight guts and barely guts, and just in front of the quarter, and that thing died. So they're going to die every time. Stay away from that shoulder, and if you can, maximize your cut and diameter. And
I was going to say the same thing. Like, especially the expandables, I don't know why. Like, everyone says you want to be as tight to the shoulder as possible, but if you're shooting expandables, you still got quite a bit of room for you can get double lung, and double lung is a dead deer every day of the week. So that's what I've been doing every time I'm shooting, is staying up, because I'm a big expandable guy too, just staying away from the shoulder, and you're not going to have any issue.
Yep.
I'm guilty of probably even staying back too far sometimes, but that's just, they're dead. That's what it matters.
I think the biggest thing with the expandables is those rages. They used to have those old collars, and people used to think you had to put them in the little slits.
Those old hard plastic sleeves that get locked into.
Yeah.
I think that's where you always hear, they don't open. Well, it's like, those things didn't have any give to them.
You could tighten them down too much too.
And I'm still using a couple of those. I've shot one deer with my bow in 3 years, but that's what I used this year. And
you better
that's just
upgrade.
Bad. That was just bad ingenuity right there. Like those new ones, I got the hypodermic, the no collar ones.
That's what I have.
Those are so nice now because they literally just lock in place.
I changed to the G5 Mega Meats, dude. Whoa. I actually love those things. They're nice. Killed my last 2 bucks with them.
They have like a bigger head with like
bigger head, and there's like a plastic ring, but the blades don't go like behind it. They just clip. There's like a little C clip that goes into it, and the blade's still on the outside of the plastic, and it locks in really nice, but it's not like too tight. Like I said, both the last 2 bucks I shot were with those, and both of them went 50 to 75 yards. And
Jake's been laying them down lately.
Been on a heater.
Yeah, I've been going to LAS every summer.
Yeah, so LAS, Lethal Archery Solutions.
Yeah.
Greg,
appreciate that.
I wish we could have a LAS hat right now that we were wearing, right, Jake?
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
Well, Jake has one. He just didn't choose to wear it.
Well, I wanted the new one that I own right now, but nowhere to be found. But
that new.
Send me your address. I'll stop and see you. I don't know where you live.
I thought you learned from, you're talking about customer service Shields hat. I thought LAS would learn and be a little bit better on that department, but apparently not.
New hat with
all right. You can, call Shields tomorrow, Jake. See if they'll drive down to your house and give you a hat.
All right.
Yeah, Shields.
Greg, have you seen those broadheads? I don't know if you guys have the ones that Josh Bomar or the Bomars have created. I think they're called Beastie. With the
expandable ones?
With the expandable, I love it. For one, expandable. 2, they flex around bone. So that's the biggest, knock on expandables. A lot of times you have a 2-inch diameter. If you're hitting the deer sideways on the rib cage, the odds of getting good penetration are pretty slim. But with those, that seems to, the technology has that fixed. I've never fixed it. I don't shoot them, but I just listening to them talk on them, I definitely would.
Yeah, those are pretty cool. I'm pretty intrigued by those. The ones I was using this year too, they're Severs. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. They're just a direct to consumer company, so you can order them online and then they'll ship them to you. But they actually have that same technology where when those blades expand, they lock together. So if you shoot in between a rib and one blade hits a rib, those blades will lock and rotate and skip past that rib instead of trying to break through it. So the blades will rotate quick, and then once it's past the rib, now they're cutting full length again. So that Bomar has the same exact design, and I think that my friend actually bought 2 of them when they first released, and he shot a doe with it, and she didn't go very far, and he was really happy with them. But I know they were sold out for a while, so I haven't got my hands on one, but they look pretty cool. I think one of the most important things too, especially if you're looking for a 2-inch plus cut in in an expandable head, is to watch for blades that are more swept back, and not just straight, like 90-degree horizontal out, because that can really drastically reduce your penetration, just really create a lot of drag on there. So there's been a lot of technology and innovations now too, where they've started making a little bit more swept back blades just to kind of get a little bit more penetration while keeping that larger cut in diameter.
Yeah, get it. I know exactly what you're talking about too. I've seen both ways. The old physics.
You've seen them just straight out like that and then tucked back. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, you don't want it full on, just boom. You want the head hitting it first. Then
sounds like we're all expandable guys. We're gonna be pissing off the fixed blade community out there.
Well, yeah, the main thing that I really the main thing I always try and just tell people is shoot what you're confident with. And I think it's just a fact that if you are going to be a fixed blade head guy, that you're going to have to practice with them for sure and really understand them. And it's actually pretty crazy. I've seen different fixed heads shoot different. You get a pack of 3 fixed heads, and one of those isn't quite square on the arrow, or the blade's misaligned or something, and you might have 2 out of the 3 that hit, and then your third's going to be 3 inches off in the same pack. It's just when you put a fixed head on the front like that, it's kind of like you're throwing vanes on the front of your arrow, and it wants to steer in the front of your arrow, and the back of the arrow is trying to steer at the same time. So when you have those 2 things kind of fighting, you need everything to be just set up well to be as consistent with fixed heads as you can be with expandables. Now, can it be done? Yes. And especially at like 20 yards, are you going to probably be consistent enough where you're going to hit it the lungs every time? Yeah. But if you don't practice with them to start, you could be far enough off from your field points where you might not be hitting the lungs. But then you'll have to either move your rest and broadhead tune, or move your sights to hit with your field or your broadheads, but then your field points are going to be off, so then you can't practice with field points. So I think it's just found more forgiveness with using expandables, and if you can hit what you're aiming at and you hit in the lungs with an expandable, you're going to kill that deer. Even if that broadhead doesn't open, you're going to kill that deer. And I think with the technology we've seen in broadheads now with expandables, that's just why I made the decision to go back to them.
Yeah,
I think like shot placement is obviously the biggest thing, whether you're using fixed or expandable. Like our dad he's always shot these little tiny slick tricks, and I've always hated them because they're so small. They're like an inch. They're 4-blade, but they're like an inch, and I didn't like them because they're so small.
It's like
he shot a
hole in the ear.
He shot a buck a couple years ago, and he smoked it, and that buck went not even 80 yards.
No, not even.
Yeah, so it's like shot placement's the biggest thing, but I think the expandables help if you're staying away at like a marginal shot. Expandable is bigger hole, more damage,
more hemorrhage.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Everybody argues, hit them in the lugs, you're fine. But even guys that shoot every day, I'm sure you've seen it, Greg, when in the tree stand, big buck, there's so many different variables there where unfortunately the fact is you don't hit them in the lugs every time. Doesn't matter how much you practice. Mm-hmm. So for the times you don't, give me the expandable. I'm happy, in my opinion.
Speaking of that, how much do you shoot throughout the year?
Quite a bit. This year I'm only in one winter league. I was in two for the last couple of years. And then I actually shoot my bow just at my target in my garage here at like 5-10 yards just to kind of get those reps down and just get just keep that smooth release going. And then as soon as it starts warming up, I'll get my bow out. And lately, since I've been working at Shields and I've been a darting dealer, I'll have a new bow coming through the winter. So as soon as it warms up, I'm excited to get out there and start shooting at longer distances. So pretty much I would think every night when I get home from work or sometimes in the mornings before I leave, I'll get out and shoot, 25, 30 arrows and keep shooting that. And then I shoot Bone Steel's League in the May to June. That runs for 8 weeks. Then try and get into some weekend shoots. There's 3D local shoots. And then last year I kind of started getting into these scrambles. They're really fun. The Mondovi Conservation Club, we're going to have 2 of them this year, and it's a random draw scramble. So you just show up, and I think we had 30 some guys, about 30 last year, and you draw names and you get picked with a partner, and then you go shoot the course and you score best arrows, and it's just a lot of fun. Then the top 3 teams get paid out. So we'll do 2 of those, and I've been doing some of that, and then just some individual money shoot type of stuff too. But yeah, I shoot quite a bit. And just, I joke around all the time, not really joke because it's true, but I don't really spend much time or money on anything besides archery. That's really just kind of where I've gone with my life. And that's just, outside of work. I mean, obviously dedicated to work when I'm there during the day, but then once I'm out of there, I'm thinking about archery a lot, whether that's working on someone else's stuff or shooting my own. So it consumes a lot more of my time than I'd probably like to add up and think what I could be doing to benefit other areas of my life.
Well, there's archery, then hunting stems off of that too. So you got a couple different hobbies you can switch back and forth from.
Hey, Greg, speaking of those shoots and league and stuff, I was going to ask, like,
you want to be my partner.
I should ask that too. But like, I don't know what you do or like what you see with other people. Are people just using like their hunting bows, or do they have like a separate like shooting bow?
Yeah, the leagues around here, pretty much everyone just uses their hunting rig, especially the Mondovi League. That's what guys use. And same with Bone Steel's League. I know his league, it's a lot of fun. You get some longer shots by the end of the league. I mean, you're shooting, there might be a target that you're scoring at 70 some yards. And then it just gets, throughout that league, it gets harder, but guys just shoot their hunting rigs. And it's really, he started that, I don't know how long ago. It's 10, 11 years. I've been doing it since he started it, since I've been in high school. And yeah, guys get out there, just kind of get really dialed in before hunting season. And that's the main reason he started that league, just so guys could keep in tune and shoot their hunting rigs. You'll get some guys, the thing in Western Wisconsin, there's not a lot of target archery shoots. You'll see those target bows and the 30-inch stabilizers and the big fat arrow shafts that take up, that are half-inch wide. But you go like towards Wausau and Green Bay and then down south of Wisconsin, there's actually a lot more target archery in those areas. But yeah, mainly around here, the stuff I do, it's guys shooting their hunting rigs.
I haven't done much of that, but like just thinking about, because like you shoot, how many arrows you shoot at one league night? Like 50 or more? Like
that Bone Steels, it's 40. There's 20 targets. You shoot 2 arrows a target. So 40 arrows there and then 30 arrows a night at Mondovi. So they're not too bad. And that's most of like those the weekend 3D shoots too that that start up in the spring and go throughout the summer. It's different clubs in the area. They're usually like 30-year-olds, so it's not a ton.
Yeah, I was just thinking about like using my hunting rig. I got it cranked up to 70 pounds, which I don't have any problem pulling it back. But if you're shooting 40, 50 arrows a night, I got I don't know, I got something wrong on my shoulder. I feel like I'm old already, but I don't think I can even shoot that many arrows in one night.
Yeah, well, Jake, just stop by. I can get you a 30-pound bow.
It should probably help. You have to give me a discount, though.
Greg,
That scramble sounds pretty fun, though.
It does. Have you ever shot that Reinhardt's bow shoot out of Sparta?
No, I haven't shot. That's one of the few I haven't been to. I've heard good things about that. I hear it's pretty like family friendly, and they have a lot of good targets and shots and whatnot. I want to make it to it because it sounds like a good time. I've went up to Bow Fest up in Superior a few times, and that's a lot of fun. I don't know if you guys have you guys heard of that?
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Looks pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks epic.
Yeah, it's up at that Montelak Resort and the ski resort up there, and then they own I don't know how many acres. It's a lot, but it's about as close to a mountain as you can get for around here. You ride the ski lift up, and you start the courses. They're probably I don't know a mile and a half long, and you shoot. There's 20 to 30 targets a course, and you get some pretty good shots with some steep up and down angles and some long shots, some shots over 80, 90 yards. So it's a lot of fun for those, for that. Yeah. And then there's a lot of vendors up there too, for just the different companies and whatnot. And they have some bands. So that's a fun time. If you guys ever want to make it to one, that one's a good one too.
What time of year is that usually?
It's the third weekend of July, usually, I think.
Okay.
No, the third or last weekend of July. I think it might be the last weekend of July, actually.
Gotcha.
One of those two, though.
Okay, fun. Yeah, I haven't been to that one, but I have been to the Reinhardt's one, and even 10 years ago, it was awesome. I mean, they had a North American course. They had a safari course. We did the North American, but a lot of the whitetails you're shooting at there, too, are for the horns on the deer. They got replicas of the different state records and
that's cool.
Famous bucks around the area. So you put yourself in that situation, shooting a buck like that,
badass.
And it's fun. It makes it
as real as you can get.
No target is the same, and it's a pretty good time.
Dang.
They have like a replica mount on the targets?
No, it's just the rack itself.
I was gonna say they'd be putting arrows in some of them head mounts.
The replicas are a little spendy.
Buying replicas for all of them.
Yeah.
Sheesh. Matthews could probably do that. Buy it all.
There you go.
Yeah. One more thing, Greg, I wanted to ask too. Obviously, so you've been doing a few bow shoots here and there. Most guys are using their hunting rigs. I always hear first I'll ask you, what range would you feel comfortable shooting a deer at? I know there's variables, but consider calm wind, calm deer, open field. What's your limit as far as what you want to shoot?
Yeah. Around here, if everything was calm and the deer was extremely calm, I'd probably limit it at 50. Now, I could be more consistent past that to keep it in the kill zone every time, but and guys like out west, the guy I was with this year, he shot his mule deer, I think, at 76 yards. Now, he ended up killing it. It wasn't a perfect shot, but it did the job. And he expired, so that was awesome. But around here, the whitetails, I've really noticed it as compared to other places, like even North Dakota last year, they are so much more skittish and always on edge.
Sure.
So that's even 50 yards. Like guys can shoot really consistent 50, 60, 70 yards and stay within the lungs that whole time. But it's a heck of a lot different when you're shooting at a stationary deer target in your backyard compared to one that's living and breathing, and the only goal it has is to eat and survive.
Your t-shirt.
I even this last year, I even noticed that. I thought from going from Wisconsin to Iowa, I thought the Iowa deer were, and that's public land, were more calm than Wisconsin.
Yeah,
it seems like, I don't know, it just seems like up back home here, they're always on edge 24/7.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's really weird, but that's the thing. So I think if it depends on the situation. like Dustin said. But if everything was calm, 50 would probably be max, and even then, I would really have to think about it. But definitely 40 and in, I wouldn't hesitate about. And it's I think that's just one thing guys don't realize, and I think it's a really big misconception now with crossbow hunters too in Wisconsin that they shoot 100 feet per second faster than compounds, but if you're going to be taking a 50, 60 yard shot with a crossbow, those deer can still react so much in that amount of time, and those crossbows ain't quiet. So I don't know. And every situation's different. Sometimes a deer might not even twitch. It might watch that arrow come in and hit its lungs, and the next time it might duck that thing and be 2 steps gone by the time the arrow gets there at 60 yards. So every situation's different. So it's hard to judge that. Guys can practice and you can be a consistent shot all you want at any distance, but there's unknown variables that can come into play in every hunting scenario.
Yeah. You practice like twice the range of that when you're like just shooting in your backyard. You shoot up to like 80 to make 40 feel like it's nothing.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good rule to follow. I actually shoot quite a bit. I have a frame built that I build around my target. Then I have I think it's probably a 6 foot by 4 foot stall mat for like barns. It's a rubber stall mat that I have hanging behind my targets. But I'll go and I'll shoot at the targets from 100 yards pretty consistently, even a little bit. I have a 3D out target too that I got from a guy, and I'll shoot that thing at like 120 yards and just shoot those, and then you go to that 40, 50 yard shot, and it makes it feel like nothing.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what a guy should do.
Yeah,
I should
that's
do
awesome.
that more. Even you can do that at the farm. Put a hay bale behind it. And
exactly.
Have fun.
Put a bigger target out there so you don't feel like you're shooting at a 2 foot little thing in diameter.
I had like a Glendale buck target like a few years ago, and I tried 100 yards a couple times, and man, it was hard to hit. I hit it a few times, but
yeah. Do you use a single pin?
I use a single pin most of the year, and then I actually use an Ultra Boost sight now, so I can swap. They have cartridges, so you can take the single pin out, and then I have a 3 pin that I put in for hunting, and then I can have my 20, 30, 40 set for tree stand hunting around here. And then if I need to shoot farther, I can dial it down. But for hunting, I use that 3 pin, and I've used single pin before, and it's worked, but there's always that chance where something could move quick on you, and then you don't have another reference point. So I really like using that 3 pin.
Do you like using that 3 pin's got the whatever coming from the sides, those little pins? But then you got that one going like straight up from the bottom. Do you like
the vertical ones?
Do you have a preference? I feel like I'd like the single pin more just because of that, but I've never used one.
Yeah. The single pin was like the single upright pin from the bottom of the housing there. It definitely takes up less of your sight picture, and it's a lot better. That's exactly why I just use a single pin for 90% of the year when I'm target shooting or leagues and whatnot, because you can just see a little more and less confusion. But strictly for the hunting scenario, I found it be worth having those pins coming off the side and seeing a little bit less, and just having those extra reference points where I know if that deer jumps back 10 yards or something quick, and I have another really accurate point that I came with.
Yeah,
never thought of it that way.
Yeah,
I have. Now that I moved to that 1 pin, which I love everything about it, but I have just worried about that happening exactly. Buck jumping, 10, 15 yards, or sneaking up on you, or how fast it happens at times. It's like, man, if there's enough things that can go wrong, and I'm gonna throw my sight in there too. It's like, thought about it, but we'll see. I honestly would like to try what you have there, because before I moved to a 1 pin, I had a 5 pin. I believe it was 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and which was nice, but it creates a lot of traffic in your view, and
5 pin. I wouldn't want to go to a 5 pin just because it gets pretty crowded in there, and then I think it gets easier to choose the wrong pin if you're shooting like that 30, 40 yard range. you might use your 50-yard pin instead of your 40, then you shoot over its back, or you use your 30 and it's at 40 and shoot underneath it. So I found the 3-pin to be just kind of the sweet spot there between not too much and just getting you those extra aiming points.
Yeah, that's a good call.
That would definitely make sense.
I may have to visit you for that, because why? I've got the 1-pin now, like it, but why have yourself screw up on a big buck and then change it?
Yeah, I know that's
in range anyways. It's like
yeah, that's what I was really. Ultra View came out with that site a few years ago, and I was switching. I was used to use a single pin, and I never did have an issue where I missed a shot at a deer. But even if you might get a shot off, but if you have to quick change your sight on your single pin, you got to move it down quick. Now you're rushing and you're getting that more amped up and nervous that you have to get everything right. Then that increases a chance for error. Yeah, exactly.
Throw a camera and a camera arm in it too. It's like how you ever make it happen.
It's a lot going on.
So it's too much going on.
It kind of helps me though. I feel like it helps me take my mind off the buck when I'm filming, because I'll be more worried about that than looking at his rack the whole time.
I think I've noticed that same thing too.
Yeah.
It's just tougher.
And it's so nice to see where you shoot a deer. Oh. You can go back and look at it, because a lot of times you'll be like, oh, yeah, I smoked him. And it's almost 7 out of 10 times a liver shot. And you're tracking a deer that's not going to be dead for 8 more hours.
Rare occasion, it could be the opposite, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you
could be laying right there, dude, too.
I freaking made a bad shot. I was too far back, and you're all worked up. And here, your footage shows you something different. So it's certainly, that's a blessing.
Relieving.
My grandpa's commented on that a few times. I've come back to the house and we're like, hey, here's where I hit him. Here's where he was. Or certain stories, and I feel like I'm fairly decent with it. But you know how big bucks get a guy's story tied in knots, and
I blacked out.
It's not exactly.
I honestly couldn't tell you. I blacked out.
I'm not even sure what buck it was. Maybe it was a 10, maybe it was a 12. How many times?
I think it was a buck.
He looked nice. I don't know.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, I've heard that way too many times. So.
Well, Greg, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys letting me talk archery and hunting. Always up for that.
Yep.
Why don't you tell the viewers how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can look up Lethal Archery Solutions on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, Instagram page. No website. Haven't made it that big yet. But you can hit up someone that I know and get my number. I'm probably not going to give my number out to everyone.
Come on.
But all right. 715-495-8563. There you go. Now you have my phone number.
Ladies.
I think they could have got it on my Facebook page. I'm pretty sure it's on there anyway.
Yeah. I hope your fiance is not listening. We have a lot of lady viewership, but
just to clarify, Dustin, I have a wife now, so I don't want her to be. I don't want her to be confused. I have another fiance.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
Figure it out.
It's my side fiance.
I knew you were engaged. I remember seeing those pictures.
Yeah, we kept the wedding small and cost effective.
That's smart. More money on archery.
Yeah.
Exactly. Always thinking about archery.
I wish I would have done that. But my wife's not listening.
Oh boy. Well, on that
Greg.
note, yeah. Thanks for coming.
We
on,
better
Greg.
end it.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Greg.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep. See ya.
That's awesome.
Getting everybody in trouble.
I'm gonna have to go take my bow over to him pretty soon too, because my D loop, like I draw it back and it just be in a different position.
I bugged him 3, 4, or 5 times last summer because I had that going on, and then my rest and everything.
Yeah.
My 1-pin sight, I like it, and I don't worry about a lot, but I do worry about that happening. There's so much other shit that can go wrong.
I got the 1-pin too, and I usually leave it at 25 yards because you're still right on at 20 and you're right on at 30.
That's exactly
what
what
I
I do
10?
with my 1-pin.
You gotta just aim lower at 10 or something.
I don't know. I've never. Well, on my buck this year in Iowa was 15 yards, and I never touched it. And
Drilled him. Still getting people viewing that video. If you
Hell yeah.
follow us on Instagram, that
we
reel's
got
doing
freaking
numbies.
People poaching our videos
Yeah,
too.
dude.
Jeez.
Some guy poached our Instagram reel and it's got over 1 million views. Like, dude,
Don't do it.
Come on, freaking hurt.
Sue him.
Hurting
What
the
did,
little guy.
what did Dana White say? Federal prison?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Federal fucking prison.
People nabbing his UFC fights. But
oh boy.
anyhow,
Who wants to close it out this week? Who wants to say something nice?
You're the host.
All right. Well, sounds good, boys.
take care.
We'll see you again next week. Maybe in the week after. Who knows? But we'll be in touch.